I hope you guys are excited because I'm excited. Today we are talking about dreams and turning that confusion into clarity. That is like the number one thing I struggled with, and I still struggle with, when I have this picture of what I want my life to look like. But how the hell do you make that happen? Like, how do you translate what's in your mind into reality? Some call it manifesting, some call it witchcraft, some are just like non-believers. And look, I'm not trying to convince you otherwise. I'm just trying to tell you that this is how I took what was in my head into my physical reality. Call it what you want. I think this stuff works. Although I'm very much a dreamer, the things I'm going to give you today are very practical. You can apply them immediately. Even though the end result seems like this impossible, like magical, mysterious thing, the steps to get there are not very mysterious. And I think that's the thing I struggled with. I kept waiting for something like revolutionary to happen, like these secrets to fall out of the sky. They're actually very practical tips and require a lot of like hard work, practice, diligence, but it's possible to make that fun. And I think that's what I never saw. I never saw how you could do it in a way that was easy for you and didn't feel like super hard and didn't feel like you have to fight through resistance every single day. There are normal feelings, like negative emotions, that come up when you're doing anything new, but there are ways that you can have a good time doing it, still be yourself doing it, not have to become someone you don't like just to get there. These are very practical tips, and it's real. It's not how you're gonna have $0 today and $1 million tomorrow, but it's how you can get closer to that $1 million goal. It's how you can get closer to a life where you have all the time freedom, financial freedom, and that's where I feel like I am right now. I am so much closer to my dream life than I was before. I just feel so much more aligned, and I think that's so underrated. Like, feeling good about your life, like feeling like if I die tomorrow, I know I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing. Like, that is such a good feeling to have. Now that I have that feeling, I cannot understand how I lived without it, and I cannot let you go on living without this feeling. So we're gonna get to work. Yes, we will. This is all coming from the belief that if you follow what's true to you, what you're naturally good at, the skills that you naturally have, things that you're naturally curious or interested about, you can create a lifestyle where you're thriving in all parts of your life. I really believe that it shouldn't be this impossible thing where you have to kind of like learn someone else's trade just because it's lucrative, or do this job just because it's popular right now or makes a lot of money. I think the thing that you love, the thing you already enjoy that's easy to you and not easy to me, can be that thing that gets you to a new life if you pursue it. And that's the problem. People don't believe in their skills enough. They think because it's easy for them, or they don't see it as valuable, or they can't immediately think about how it's going to make them money, it's a no-go zone. I have to get a real job. I have to do the real practical, logical thing. I do not think that's true. I feel like if we followed what we actually believed in, we followed what we actually are passionate about, it actually leads to not just like a few open doors, like the most open doors available to us. And that's what I've experienced in my life. From my experience, I've seen the number one reason people don't go after their dreams is the fact that it's unclear. They have no idea how to get there. And that was my number one problem. And every step, because this is on a macro and micro level, every step that I'm doing something new, this comes up. I've never seen how this can be done. I don't understand how it works. How am I supposed to go from point A to point B? And through multiple iterations of like getting closer to my dream life, I've discovered it comes down to just two things for me. Eliminating what doesn't belong, because as you grow up, you accumulate ideas, beliefs, habits, behaviors that may not be true to you. And then after you've eliminated all of that noise, all of those distractions, you get deeper within yourself. In the last video, I talked about kind of like breaking up with that old version of you, eliminating that elephant in the room that's always taking up space. It's a lot to maintain, but you kind of feel like this like attachment to it. For me, this was my full-time job, my corporate job. This was freelance for me at some point. It's just that comfort thing that's in the way, and it's hard to maintain, but if you let it go, you feel like you don't know who you are anymore, and it scares the crap out of you. Eliminating that thing is key. Like, I say this all the time, but I feel like that was the most successful thing I've done in my career, even if it didn't make me the most money, even if I took like 10 steps backwards. Being aware of the problem and removing the problem is the beginning of a whole new life. And after you've eliminated that elephant, the next step is to explore so you can get closer to the person you want to be. In the next video in the series, I'm going to talk about committing to this person and exploiting this person or persona, whatever you want to call it. But this is the second step, exploring how you get to that person. Okay, now that I've eliminated the things that are not me, who am I actually? How can that lead me to the lifestyle I've always seen for myself? And just a little bit of background, if you haven't seen the last video or seen any of my other videos, my name is Iffy. I'm 26. I live in Dallas, Texas, and I make content here on YouTube, on TikTok, and I'm on Instagram, but all of my content revolves around dream life and creating your dream life. I started a podcast with my fiance, the Get Paid to Live podcast, and all of this stemmed from me quitting my corporate job in 2020 with no plan and really just being like, I'm gonna be who I want to be. I'm tired of listening and following all the rules. It's not getting me where I want to be, and taking that risk actually led to so much more return. I tripled my income. I created a life where I had time freedom. It kind of hit me again 2 years into freelance that I feel like there's more. There's a deeper calling for me to start my own company, which has been the game plan from the jump. I kind of fell into freelance, but I knew I'm supposed to speak on something. I know I'm supposed to start a business. I have been on a quest ever since 2020 to really get closer to my dream life every year. And that's what actually led me to start my company, Sans Raison, which came from me taking a trip to Europe and realizing that the best things in my life always come when I do it without a reason first, and I just let it unfold on the journey. And that's exactly what we're talking about today. I never knew that I could be a full-time creator and entrepreneur by just saying it and taking actions toward it. But for me to uncover all of those things about me, to know exactly what the job would be, I couldn't label the job first. I had to label what was already happening, look at the data within me already. So get your coffee, get your tea. We're gonna get into it. We're gonna explore who you are. You're gonna figure out who you are and have clarity on it, which will make the next step of committing to this evolved dream version of yourself so much easier. And I'm just gonna address, this is going to be confusing. It's not a fun, easy process. I know play and having fun and like exploring is marketed really well, like has a really good brand, but it's hard, it's confusing, it's annoying, and you will fail a lot. The more you can just accept this in the beginning, the easier the failures or the misalignment or the, ooh, that wasn't that great, like the easier all that stuff will be. The problem I think here in this exploration phase is that we are always looking externally for answers. We are thinking something's wrong with me. I don't have what I want. So something's wrong with me. I need to find the answer elsewhere. It's not here, obviously. But that's the thing. We disregard everything that is here when actually I believe all of the answers are within us. I think you got into the situation where you hate your job, you don't like your friends, you hate your lifestyle, you hate your behaviors because you were picking up way too much information from people around you. And people around you can always give you advice. And sometimes it might be right, sometimes they may not. They're always going to give you advice based on their life and not yours. And the thing is, you have to understand that your unique dream life, whatever you want out of life, is very specific and unique to you. So no one can fully give you all of the answers. Even if you're listening to people older than you, or a boss, or a mentor, or even watching a YouTube video like this, it can't give you exactly the key to finding the answer. All you can do is take action, informed action. We're going to talk about the informed part on what you like, what you're passionate about, what you're interested in, what you're curious about. Through that process, you not only develop the characteristics of the person you want to be, but you also start to get closer to all the skills that you have that you didn't realize because you never gave it a try. And those things can lead to the $1 million business idea. Those things can lead to the network or the person who's going to introduce you to the right person. It sets you up for the right scenario. The more attempts you have of putting that thing out there and trying, the more you're just going to get back. It's not like a guaranteed, like you put in 10, you're going to get back 10, but maybe you put in 30 and you get 1 back. And that 1 leads to so many more things. I was watching a video from Matt Gray and he talked about how he sent thousands of emails when he was looking for his next business idea, and he got 1 response that turned into the $1 million business idea that he's doing today. The thing is, it might be a lot faster than you think. A lot of times we just think like, oh, that's too much work. But what's the alternative? What's the alternative? You sit here, you continue to hate your life, you don't like what you do, you don't feel fulfilled, and you're only in your 20s or you're only in your 30s, and you have hopefully so many more years to go. The faster you get started on this dream life, the faster you start this process, the sooner you can look back and be like, oh, that only took me like 2 or 3 years. It only took me like 5 years, which honestly is not a long time compared to your life. So the solution is to use the data you already have. There are skills that you have, there are talents that you possess, and things you already do. You just don't see them as important. You're kind of overlooking it. You might be really good at like organizing things. You might be really good at art or design. You might be really good at investigating things. You don't have to take all of those skills and be like, oh, I'm good at investigating, I should be a private investigator. Maybe, but you can just note them mentally. Like, I'm really good at this. People tend to tell me I'm really good at this. Or I find this really easy. I see that people are doing it really bad, or they struggle a lot and I don't. Just note all of these things. This exploration phase is for you to like put the puzzle together. And the only way you're gonna put the puzzle together, which is your dream life, is if you start noticing the pieces. You can't just like discard of pieces and be like, I don't know, because it goes to the bigger picture. And the benefit of you looking at the data of what you already have, using the skills you already have, is you're working smarter and not harder. If you are finding yourself struggling too much with a certain idea or a certain lifestyle or trying to attain a certain thing, there is most likely some misalignment with that thing. Something's not clicking. And I don't think the things that are meant for you that will bring you the most reward take extreme amounts of effort to where you feel like every day you're having to overhaul. It's not giving you more back than you're putting in. To paint a picture, give you an example, for me, I had kind of exposed myself prematurely before I quit to content creation. Again, not something I'd ever done before, but I knew I was always interested in this. I was doing things influencers were doing when I was 10, and I just picked up on that. So I knew when I was depressed in my corporate job, I was like, let me just make a YouTube channel. Let me just have a little bit of fun. And that's what led me to, when I finally quit, like, maybe I could do this as a career. And it took like years and years of me just kind of doing it on the side, doing it for fun, making my friends' Instagrams account for me to be like, this is actually something I feel slightly good at. So let me just try it because it's all I have, all the data that I have. And really, it wasn't just content creation. I loved marketing. I had been drawn to it in school. I had always been drawn to it with companies and brands. I love the idea of branding, and I didn't know exactly the time how I would pursue that career and if it was a career or people even made money in it. So I just started doing what I could. I managed people's social medias for free. I worked for a blog because I knew I liked writing. I thought I was going to be like a city blogger at one point. Like, I have a whole story on my whole failed influencer journey, but I really just loved all aspects of marketing, so much so that I thought I was going to be a designer. Like, I was literally taking Adobe Photoshop and Illustrator classes like on my own, thinking this was going to work out. And none of those individual ventures like took off anywhere. And how I knew was every time I would try to like push forward with those individual ideas, like I thought I would be just an influencer, I thought I would be just a designer or just a social media manager, I always hit a ceiling with it. It always capped. It never felt like this could fully fulfill me. And you really only know over time. It took time for me to realize that I love social media and I love content creation, but I don't necessarily want to manage it for people. I had to go out and try it. I had to really physically do it. It took me like 6 missed classes of my Adobe class to realize like I could do this. I could sit here and learn how to do this every day, but it's not lighting me up. It's not bringing me the energy back. And one question I get a lot, and I see people talk about a lot, is like, how do you keep the motivation and patience with something that you're not good at when you're exploring in this phase and you suck at everything, you're confused about everything, there could be so many options, like which one do I pick? How do you keep the motivation to keep trying things and failing at them? The thing is, this might require you to get lower pay. This might require you to leave something that seems certain to go towards something that's uncertain. This might require you to be bad at something for a really long time. I got $10 an hour to write for blogs, but I knew that I wanted to get closer to the field of marketing, and this was a way for me to get in. It wasn't ideal. It wasn't the perfect dream job. Frankly, I had a hard time with it, but I was learning. And when you learn, sometimes you have to take steps back to do that. It's giving you more experience than you think. And as somebody who's very impatient and only has to be having fun to be motivated, I can tell you, I completely understand this. And there's 2 things I use to keep me motivated and keep me going when things are taking a long time: focus and fun. If you put your focus on the things that you enjoy, if you put the focus on the curiosity or the interest or the passion, you're often distracted by all of the negatives around it. I was so convinced that I was going to be an influencer because I was so interested in content creation and posting and aesthetics and all that, that I didn't realize that money was leaving my bank account. I didn't realize that I probably looked like an idiot. I didn't realize that I was barely making any money. All of those things don't matter as much when you are completely immersed and focused on what you're doing. So even with the wrong activities or the wrong hobbies you try, just putting your focus on how can I get better? How can I learn this new skill? How can I overcome this? When you're focused on it for a particular period of time, you won't notice all of the negatives around it as much. But this requires you to do something that is fun to you. Like, having fun is the easiest way to focus on something and to do it for a long period of time. Honestly, all of this is just the art of delusion. Like, really immerse yourself in this new persona, really immerse yourself in this hobby, this activity, because if you just tell yourself a story about what you're doing, it piques more interest to see, ooh, what's next? How can I keep going? How can I get better at this thing? Who will I become if I learn this new skill? What can I do with this new skill? And I think you have to kind of have fun with it and play around with it for you to do something uncomfortable for a longer period of time. And the last thing I'll say on this is just know that all of this is going somewhere. It's not a waste of time. I think we perceive things to be a waste of time because we don't have an outcome in mind. We don't know where this is going. It's stupid to take a pottery class. It's stupid to try rock climbing. It's stupid to make music and put it online. It's stupid to post this video because I don't know what's going to happen next. And I think that's where most people miss out on their $1 million idea, their dream lifestyle, their dream job, is because they already put things down. They close the door before the door has been closed. I've tried being a designer. It wasn't the route for me. And I closed the door after I gave it a full shot. I think we have this tendency tendency to not give things a full shot and wonder why we're not happy. It's because we kind of get lazy and like, oh, I don't have to try, things will present themselves to me. That is not the case, especially when you're starting a business, when you're starting something new, when you're going after something that you've never really seen before. You have to kind of force it before it comes back to you. Everything I did, from the blog writing to the graphic design to managing so many different people's accounts in so many different industries, to the selling, to the pitching, everything I did in that period before I secured a comfortable income taught me everything I know today, which has allowed me to become a full-time content creator and full-time entrepreneur. Every aspect is connected, so do not discard of anything when you don't have the perspective to know which one goes first. And I'll kind of leave you with this very inspirational story that my fiance told me about Steve Jobs when he was creating Apple and creating the first Macintosh computer. He had taken a calligraphy class in college that he really enjoyed, and you think, okay, calligraphy, Apple computers, what does that have to do with anything? But when he had the idea to start Apple and start making these computers, he decided to add in different fonts, which at the time was new. Nobody was doing that. That was not a part of the normal computer that you saw. And that's actually what led to a huge success for Apple and actually made Apple pop off so much and be so different from the crowd, is because he added that component and his love for calligraphy into the computer. And I bring that up because I say there's so many little things like that for us that we have a skill in or we have an interest in. Maybe we're not the best, like maybe he wasn't the best calligrapher, I don't even know what you call them, but he used his interest for that and added it into his company that made all the difference. And I feel like it's little things like that that you're missing that sometimes you don't see, but it requires you to just keep going for you to see why it's important later. All right, so how do you know what's meant for you? How do you dig into yourself and figure out what you actually want out of life, which will lead to that dream life? This is where your skills of listening, internal listening, will come into play. So how do you listen? I'm sure there's a million other ways to do this. These are just the ones that I've done in my life and I continuously do, and they always work for me and show me the next step. Number one, and I said this in my last video, is exposing yourself. Exposure therapy is what I like to call it, rebranded. This is exposing yourself to things before you're ready, exposing yourself so the fear kind of dissipates, so the familiarity and the awareness increase. This could be for a job, this could be for a certain industry, a certain lifestyle, a habit, a new hobby. Exposing yourself before you're ready allows you to start putting this pressure in your mind. And there's something about us humans, we do not like cognitive dissonance. If you see something in front of you all the time that you want, and you are different from the thing that you say that you want, the thing that you say you want to be, you are going to do anything to close that gap. Before I even started freelancing officially in social media marketing, I was exposing myself on TikTok. I was on Social Media Manager TikTok, and it was the best thing for me. I kid you not, I literally learned how to do the job just from watching TikToks because people were sharing how they do their job. And that's what actually helped me in such an uncertain time after leaving, to know what to do and give me a clue. Like, I don't know exactly what job I'm supposed to do. I now have this new skill that I kind of have been learning in the background that I can use to freelance. And that's what prompted me to say, okay, I can just choose the path of least resistance and apply for one social media job. And that's what led to my six-figure career in that. Another thing I like to do is when it comes to like physical things, I view the house, I view the apartment before I'm ready, before I have the money. I look at the car before I have the money. Sometimes seeing these things and feeling them, touching them, having them in your life, in your way, it gives your brain something to solve. It's not in your face. You're not gonna feel the urgency to go after it. It's not around you. There's nothing to solve. One of my easy, low-cost ways to do this is to create a vision board. I have a free vision board template if you want it in the description. Put pictures of what you see in your life, literally in the next 3 to 4 months. Like, what could you actually see happening in your life? And put that vision board somewhere where you will be reminded every single day that this needs to happen. My next step is to recall and revisit. One of my favorite things that I learned from a life coach, Brooke Castillo, she talked about how like we are actually so good at solving our own problems and we don't really take that into account. We kind of just like, oh, we have to Google everything or we have to find something elsewhere. But a lot of times you can just think about what you want to solve. And I'm not talking about like scrolling, feeling anxiety, thinking your way out of problems, but actually make it a homework assignment. Like actually make it a task. Like think about what you want to solve and write it down. And if you didn't have Google, how would you have to solve it? So you can use that kind of energy in this exercise. So what I like to do is take 30 minutes, write down anything, brainstorm, just brain dump. What do you want? What in your life makes you happy and lights you up? You're so in awe, you're in wonder. I feel that feeling when I travel. So I know that's something that lights me up. Even if it's an activity you've done once before, you went ice skating one time, you had a really good time. You went to a certain gym and it made you feel so good and you did this particular workout with this particular person. Like, write down all the things that come to your mind, because this can spark ideas. It's not the answer. It's going to spark ideas of things you can try in your trial and error process. These are going to give you more aligned options instead of just doing anything. If you smile thinking about it, it's probably a good option. And I'm not talking about your ex. Try to list out at least 15 things and give them a try. Like, if you had to narrow it down to like your top 3 or 5, like which one would you actually try to do on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis? For me, when I honored the fact that I love travel and I need to have travel in my life, it sparked the idea for my company, Sans Raison. And I wouldn't have had that idea if I hadn't been on that trip with a particular person at the particular time I decided to go. So kind of honoring and listening to things that you actually like to do help you, because if it's not the thing itself, it might spark an idea for something else that you wouldn't have had the idea of otherwise. Another tip here is to be bored. It's okay to be bored. It's okay to like really be bored. I'm not talking about like I'm scrolling, I'm watching Netflix, I'm on my computer just like puttering around. Like, really be bored. Have nothing to do. If you're going on a walk, don't take your headphones. Don't listen to a podcast. If you're exercising, again, no headphones. Try to go by yourself. Give yourself time to do nothing so ideas come to you. Your brain and your subconscious is always working. It's always solving a problem. That's why it's important to surround yourself with things that you wanted to solve. Maybe not just a reality show or a TikTok drama think piece. Like, give it things you actually wanted to solve so that when you are bored and we have nothing to do, your brain has time to create solutions and think of ideas. It's the shower moment effect. You always get your best ideas in the shower, or when you're taking a walk, when you're just casually talking to a friend. That's when things come to you. And the last one, which is one of my favorites, is to get to know yourself through personality tests. Everyone and their mother tells you to take a personality test, figure out your zodiac sign. These are the 3 that I would recommend anyone do, because I really believe that these work. Over the years, I've taken these tests, some of them several times, and they actually help me discover something. One of my favorites is a Clifton Strengths Quest, but it's a strengths test. So basically focus on your strengths versus your weaknesses. Doing this, you can figure out what you're naturally good at. This is the thing where I'm saying like it's easy for you and not easy for other people. And this is where alignment hits. It's not that it won't require hard work, but it's easier for you than it does for other people. So you're able to put out more, thus getting more opportunities for luck, alignment, happiness, joy. I figured out like I'm an activator, I'm an executor. I'm really motivated in environments where I can execute heavily. And this is what honestly led to me feeling confident about being a freelancer, because I'm like, oh, I can deliver, I can get things done for people. And that also gave me the confidence to start my own business. Another idea for finding out your strengths or figuring out what you're good at is asking people around you. I know it's cringy, I know it's awkward, but ask like at least 7 to 10 people what they find really impressive about you, what they think is really cool that you can do, something that you have that they don't see in other people. Like, what are the top 3 strengths that come to mind when they think of you? Ask like 7 to 10 people, hopefully more, and you will compile a list and see that they're all similar. I literally did this, and I can tell you I had like the same words come up over and over again, and it's like clearly I'm meant to be doing something in that zone. Another one is values test. It's exactly what led me to see that I shouldn't be at my corporate job, because I realized that all the values of the people around me did not match mine. And if you do this with the things in your life, you will start to see how many things are misaligned with your actual values. Take the values test, figure out which are your like top 3 to 5. Do the things in my schedule, the things I spend the most time on, do they actually make me feel those values? Does my job actually make me feel free? Do the people I hang around actually make me feel creative? And you can start like picking apart your life. Like, it gets scary. And if you're extreme like me, you're gonna turn your whole life over to match your values. And that's exactly what I did. And then my last and favorite, I'm new to this test, the human design test. Oh my God, I tried this app called My Human Design. Perfect, amazing. I like this app a lot because it was the first personality test to actually make me feel like, oh my God, like this is so accurate. Like, it's not like zodiac chart accurate, it's like accurate. Like, I feel like it was describing my entire life, and I'm like, yes. And I think sometimes you just have to see other people see what you've been thinking, or hear somebody say it in a YouTube video for you to be like, okay, I'm not crazy. It basically covers your energy type, like how you show up in the world, how you manifest things. It even talks about your digestion. Like, it's so intricate. I'm a manifesting generator, and it was guiding me on like how to bring in opportunities, how I work effectively. It even told me my purpose in life. It said I'm supposed to be like a transmitter, like of information, which I'm like, as a content creator, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. But during your trial and error, your explore phase, your explore era, just be open to the process. Don't judge things immediately. Don't say yes or no. Just try it. Go towards what feels good. Don't go towards what doesn't feel good. And I'm not talking about like on a temporary level. For instance, I like having a clean house. Do I feel like cleaning every Sunday? No. But when I clean, I feel good. So I'm gonna move towards me cleaning my house more. And if that doesn't help, another rule I have is if you're still curious about something, there means there's more for you to do there. Even if you're not good at it. Like, I'm not good at a lot of things. I'm not good at sales right now. I'm not necessarily good at like websites and all that stuff, but I'm still curious about it. So there's more room for me to explore. This is not to downplay how hard it's going to be. I can't stress enough that this will be a very uncomfortable process. But what's more uncomfortable to me is to live a life not knowing, to not question, to not even try, and have regrets about what I could have done just because I was scared or afraid, or it would have been just 1 year of discomfort or just 6 months of not having a lot of money in my bank account. And nothing lasts forever. It's temporary. You will eventually get past this point. You're going to be so much happier that you started now than versus in a year when you're looking at everyone else who started. And if you need the constant reminder, if you need an accountability partner, if you need a community, this is the page for you. And my company, Sans Raison, is dedicated to helping dreamers like you and I, like people who are determined to get to where they want to get and who also want to have fun in the process. If you want to keep up with our community, follow us on Instagram. I'll be posting so much more content there and also on the newsletter. I hope to see you in the next video, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.